So all we do is suspension and brake. We just specialise in that area, so that's the stuff that we look after and that's the stuff that we specialise in.
Get your Gameface on.
Yes, g'day everybody and welcome to another big edition of the Gameface Sfnl Division 1 footy show, proudly brought to you by Petters Suspension and Brakes. Ben Lockwood, thanks for joining me again. Another huge week of Southern Footy League.
Yeah, no worries, Will. Good to be here again. Yeah, there was a great round of footy, a couple of upsets. I think you and I are no good in the tipping again, but we'll get to that later, no doubt.
Some interesting results, that's for sure. And the race for the finals really starting to heat up now. Plenty of intrigue around a few of those results. Dingley, they roll the reigning premiers. Where are they at? They've lost a couple in a row now, so we'll dissect how they're tracking the doggies. The Colts, they pinch a thrilling win over the ladder leaders. A couple of clubs pretty unhappy with that result, I would have thought. Two of them being the Saints and the Demons. We'll see how they went over the weekend. They're still in the mix. And there's been a change of finals venue, Lockers. So it's supposed to be at RSCA Park, but there's been a little bit of a change from that.
There has been, indeed. Will suit me. We'll get to that later in the program, though, no doubt.
Absolutely. And, of course, we have a look at some of the best young guns in the competition. Some great players aged 21 and under. There's a few of them in this competition, and the league's in some pretty good hands if that's the case.
Oh, absolutely is, yeah. It's we've been through the list, Will, as you said, and there's probably, 10 guys that we've named. There's probably another at least dozen guys that are unlucky not to be in it, so... Yeah, we'll have a look at that later on as well.
No doubt that'll create a little bit of conversation, I should say. But before we go any further, let's have a look at some of the results and what happened over the weekend with the Gameface app update, proudly brought to you by MelSafe.
MelSafe is a leading provider of certification, audit and compliance services, specialising in safety, quality, environmental and chain of custody standards.
G'day guys, time for another Gameface app update, proudly brought to you by MelSafe. MelSafe are the experts in auditing and compliance services, so contact them now to review your safety processes to ensure your employees are working in a safe environment and achieve all legislative obligations. In Division 1, a huge result at Jack Barker Oval, as Port Colts came from behind to upset ladder leaders Cheltenham by 11 points. The visitors slammed on 9 second-half goals to 3 to come home with a wet sail, including 2 in the final minutes of a seesawing last quarter to secure the 4 points. Meanwhile, Premiership contenders East Malvern didn't have their best day and had to work pretty hard to overcome a dog at Oakley District at Princes Highway, the final margin there just 16 points. In the other game, St Kilda City cruised to victory over Hyatt, the Dingoes jumped to second spot after outclassing St Paul's, and Morty Alec have all but dashed Bentley's finals hopes with a commanding win down at Arthur Street. In the reserves and the bottom two sides in Cheltenham and Hyatt both recorded their third wins of the year over the Colts and the Saints respectively, while a strong Dingley side showed the Dogs no mercy. Bentley and East Malvern, the top two sides, were the other winners. To the ladder, and it remains tight at the top. Dingley and East Malvern are now 2 points behind the Rosellas in the race for the minor premiership, while St Paul's slide down to fourth. Morty Alec's big win over the Demons sees them claim fifth spot on percentage ahead of the Colts. Dingley, meanwhile, jumped to third on the reserves ladder, with Port Colts still eyeing off the Doggies' spot in the 5. Now remember guys, there's plenty more to see on the Gameface record app, including all the live scores, the footy shows, goal kicking leaderboards and the weekly top 10 player rankings. And all divisions of footy and netball are covered, so make sure you download the Gameface record app for free from the App Store or Google Play. Get your Gameface on. Yeah, some interesting results there for sure. We'll get into a few of those in just a moment. A few really stood out for mine. But finals, they're just around the corner, Lockers, and only in the last couple of days we've heard word from HQ that although they were supposed to all be played at RSCA Park, the brand new facility there at Linton Street, that might not be the case for a couple of them.
No, I think the first couple of weeks are going to be now at Ben Kavanagh Reserve in Morty Alec. So, yeah, change of venue, actually pretty similar sized ground. So I don't think it's going to make a huge impact on the actual playing of each of the finals. But, yeah, different environment. Again, Morty Alec's facilities are fantastic, so I'm sure there'll be no issue with it. Brand new, as we've all seen this year. Ground's a little bit more narrow. Will it give Morty Alec an advantage? Well, they first have to make it, so we'll see what happens.
It came about with some discussions from St Kilda Footy Club. I don't think they were too keen on playing the number of games that were initially slated. I think, they're worried about the ground conditioning, and fair enough too with, things like the TAC or the NAB League, I think it is now, and their women looking to play some finals footy, so there'll be a fair bit of traffic on that ground in what's supposed to be the busiest part of the year. So as a result of those discussions, the qualifying, elimination and first semi-finals, they'll be played at Ben Kavanagh, as you said, and the second semi, the prelim and the grand finals, the three big finals, they'll be at RSEA Park, the home of Southern League footy now.
Yeah, absolutely. The ground, in fairness to St Kilda, the ground at RSEA Park is actually in pretty ordinary condition, especially when you're putting out players on $700,000, $800,000 a year onto that ground to train now full time.
Yep.
So they'll fix it up over the summer, and hopefully 2020 finals will all be played there.
Which will be fantastic, and no doubt it'll be a great spectacle for the Southern Footy League, great exhibition of Southern League footy as well. And you've been around a couple of the clubs during the weekend. And what's the feeling amongst a few of the what's the temperature of the room, I guess, with the with the clubs in that
I think there's probably a little bit of mixed emotion. There's definitely a couple of guys I've spoken to. As playing wise, that are happy that it's at Mordialloc. The last thing they wanted to do, I think, was go back to Springvale again. So they're fairly relieved it's at Mordialloc and not Springvale. Look, they'd much rather play at Moorabbin, there's no doubt about it, but it is what it is. I think there is definitely some coaching guys out there at the moment who are a little bit concerned if Mordialloc do make it, so they get a home ground advantage. To them, I'm not actually sure Mordialloc is suited for their team to play at Mordialloc. They're a little bit older, as we know, so yeah, it'll work out in the wash. Those teams will win.
That's it, mate. You want to win a flag, you've got to play anywhere. So it'll be interesting nonetheless. And you're right, they have lost a couple of games on the home deck this year, so maybe not too much of an advantage there for the Bloods. Now, moving on, Cheltenham played Port Colts on the weekend. That was a big game. And a massive result in the context of the final series. You were down there. What happened?
Yeah, absolutely. First three quarters, the game was just played between the arcs. Both midfields were in a bit of an arm wrestle most of the day. Generally, at last position of the forward line for both sides was fairly poor. So there's a lot of turnover. Back half 50s for Cheltenham, Daniel Vaughan was magnificent down there. Intercept mark after intercept mark. And conversely, the same for Port Colts, Torren Bonnet, Big Wagman, who can kick the ball an absolute country mile. They intercepted the ball off their half-back line, so it was really played between the two arcs. Last quarter, game opened up, lots of goals kicked. I think score changed 3 or 4 times, and was an exciting finish. I got to experience the Cheltenham Lunatics on the hill for the first time, and wow, I wouldn't want to be a Cheltenham player or an opposition player the way they go about their supporting on the weekend. But
it's where all the funnies on the hill.
Yeah, it was interesting. There's no doubt about that. So. Yeah, good result in the end. It was really close. Last 5 minutes, super exciting game. We thought Cheltenham may have had the win with Finn Ryan slotting a goal to put them up. Back came Port Colts, and in the end it was little Cal Cathcart who sealed the game for the Colts. It was a really exciting game of footy.
And we saw that vision during the week on the Gameface Sfnl Facebook group. Cal Cathcart just doing Cal Cathcart things, and he doesn't need a lot. Just any opportunity, and he will take it, and he will make you pay. And he's a very, very dangerous player. But a massive impact on the finals race, like as this one. I mean, Colts now probably in the box seat. They've relinquished, strangely I say that, they've relinquished 5th spot over the weekend on percentage, but they are now red-hot favourites for that 5th spot.
Yeah, you have to say they're in the box seat. Again, it's going to be in their destiny. They don't. They keep winning, they'll make it. Mordialloc are going to have a little bit to say about it. They had a good win on the weekend, so that'll be a massive game, Morty, this weekend versus Dingley. And, it could come down to round 18, which I think is Port Colts versus Mordialloc at Port Colts. Yeah, we earmarked that game a couple of weeks ago as the one to watch, and that could decide, as you say, who plays in the finals, who grabs that 5th spot. Now, moving on, a couple of other contenders were in action over the weekend. St Kilda City, they were very, very impressive in their first half against Height. Their ball use was simply sensational, breaking lines, and they were just a class above Height. That brand of footy is, if they can bring that every week, that's as good as any in the comp. Absolutely, and I know there's a few sides that are entrenched in the top 5 now that are keeping a close eye on City to see if they do sneak in, because there's no doubt on a big round open space with their absolute speed, they could be dangerous if they make it. Again, they're going to need results to go their way to make it, but if they do, and they're in form and they've got no injuries, they could be a sneaky chance to play deep into September, but their biggest challenge is going to be getting there.
Yep, that's right. They did lose a couple of players during the game. Hugh Green and Sean Edwards, who they didn't see out the game, but they'll probably be right for next week. Just put them on in Cottonwall for the remainder of the game. They had the game firmly in their keeping. The Sean Edwards is an interesting story.
I was just going to mention that. Extraordinary.
A couple of AFL clubs he's been at, GWS, Essendon and Sydney, most recently 2017, and got picked up with a permit from St Mary's because they apparently don't do clearances anymore, so their season operates a little bit differently up in the NT, and he was pinched from right under their nose by the Western Bulldogs who overrode their permit, which is not on lockers. Can't be having that.
No, look, all I'll say to that is, Rocket Rod, you are a genius at recruiting even late in the year after clearances are closed. But well done. Hopefully he's back because he'll make the competition stronger and give City a real chance in the coming weeks.
The problem that they've got is I don't think he'll have played enough games to qualify for finals, so that's a massive, massive bummer there for the Saints. But moving on to the other challenger, Bentley, they were pretty poor again against Morty Alec, and you could just about rule a line through them in terms of the finals.
I think they're done. I'll call it. I'll be proven wrong, no doubt. Bentley will get up and win the next three and challenge, but I will say right here, right now, they are done for the year.
One of them will be done, I reckon, because they play each other this week, St Kilda City and Bentley. That'll be a massive, massive game. Now, of course, St Paul's, they're another big story. We talked about the torrid couple of weeks that they've had on the injury front, and of course the big one there to Jared Blankenship, which knocked everyone down with a feather. So Dingley, they were very, very good on the weekend. A nice little purple patch at the start of the fourth quarter, really got the ball rolling and recorded a big, big win there against a side that they've traditionally struggled against.
Absolutely.
I think Shane Moore would call them the bogey side during the week, but a fantastic win for Dingley. They move up to second.
They do. Dingoes are in form, and Dingoes are maybe sneaking under the radar a little bit. We know they're a powerhouse club, been a great team for a long time. The interesting thing, I think their profile's changed a little bit in the last few weeks. Some of these kids that have come in are now playing key roles.
Yep.
Young Goldsworthy, I think. Goldsmith, sorry.
Yep.
If you haven't seen it, have a look on the video footage. Kick goal of the year in my mind up until this stage, and Faulkner Wood played terrific as well. So their kids are going really, really well. They're a good side. They're dangerous, no doubt. So we'll see what happens in the coming weeks with them.
Yep, a very enviable position to be in, and of course, the Doggies have lost 3 of their last 4, and they were pretty lucky to win that last one against Port Colt. So since round 10. They've lost those 3 games, and they've had some very, very close wins against Bentley, Morty Alec, and Port Colts, which you should have expected them to win.
Yeah, look, they're
and win by a little bit more.
Yeah, absolutely. They're no doubt their injuries are taking their toll. As I think we discussed a few weeks ago, I think St Paul's biggest issue is we know their good players are good. They've got some stars, but losing Harry Hunt's a big one, no doubt, for the year.
Huge.
But I think their biggest issue is actually their depth. You look at the good sides at the moment, like your Cheltenhams, your East Malverns, and your Dingleys, who are the top 3 sides at the moment. They're 15 to 22 each week on their list are pretty good kids, or they're good, strong, dependable players. I think St Balls have had to dig into their reserves a little bit too much, so it might be a depth issue for them. Not so much their top end. We know their top end are good. Yep,
absolutely. And we spoke about the injuries that Cheltenham have faced throughout the season in previous weeks, and they continue to get it done. You're right, the depth is certainly there. Now let's have a quick look at the ladder, and of course Cheltenham's still out on top, but St Paul's obviously the big slider there, down to 4th on the ladder on the back of their form slump, and obviously injuries are sort of taking the toll, as we've just spoken about.
Yeah, absolutely. Interesting, Dingley versus Morty Alec, Dingley and then obviously Cheltenham versus East Malvern. That's a massive game. So results go their way. East Malvern could be on top. They could be 4th. So it's still going to really, really play out the next couple of weeks to where teams end up. So come Saturday night, Dingley could be on top of the ladder.
Could very well be a big game coming up there between Cheltenham and East Malvern. We'll preview that shortly. But the real interest, Morty Alec and Port Colts are the 2 that are jostling for that 5th position. We can eliminate one of St Kilda City or Bentley during the
absolutely
as a Saturday, and the other one will be waiting for other results to go their way, which is not what you want, but a very, very close percentage there between Morty Alec and Port Colts. That one will go down to the wire, that's for sure. Now, of course, as we speak about Bendigo Bank every single week, they're fantastic supporters of Gameface and the community, and they're giving 80% of their profits back to the community, which we say every week. It's fantastic, but they're currently running a promotion at the moment as well, which we spoke about last week. Still going,
going
for another few weeks. How are you going with your insurance? You got everything?
No, I've been down to see the boys during the week, and I'll get my quotes through this week and make some changes. So, yeah, absolutely fantastic. Bendigo Bank.
Competitive rates, mate. They are very, very good. Jignesh in the team, and Darian, who we had coming in to talk a little bit about it last week as well. Great fella, the great team down there. Competitive rates, and just by dropping in and getting a free insurance comparison, no obligation. Just by getting the comparison, you go into the draw to win some good prizes, movie tickets, vouchers, you name it. It's you're nuts not to go down and do that. So make sure you get down and support those that support us now.
We give 80% of our profits back to the community.
G'day guys, Will from Gameface here, and thanks to Sports Performance Tracking, I've got the SPT Player of the Day, Jake Bowie. He'll be wearing our GPS tracker this afternoon. Now, Jake, you're no stranger to these GPS trackers. You wear them a fair bit at Sandy?
Yeah, I do, every week. Yeah.
And how do you find them?
Pretty annoying on your back, but do what you have to do.
Now, I'm told you get some good numbers with those sort of things. What are we looking at?
Hopefully 11, 12k maybe.
That's not a bad effort. And how are you finding it down at Sandy? Playing some good footy, I'm told.
Yeah, I've been pretty good recently. We're sitting third on the ladder, which is pretty good. Finals bound.
Happy days. And you're a bottom age. You're only 16, mate.
Yeah, 16. Got another year, so.
Fantastic. And playing your second game of senior footy here at Height this afternoon, and as a 16-year-old, do you find it a little bit daunting being still a kid, basically playing against some big boppers on both sides?
Yeah, it's a bit different to what I'm usually playing. Bit bigger bodies, bit faster as well. Yep. Different game styles as well, which is pretty different.
And a big game coming up here against St Kilda City. They've got some good players, and Height, they've been competitive in most of the games. You guys going in confident here this afternoon?
Yeah, very confident. We could steal this one, get another win on the board. Should be good.
And your old man Brett's up there regaling a couple of stories. He's sitting in the crowd watching with interest, I guess.
Yeah, he loves the local footy, loves getting down. And
a couple of beers always helps as well. I saw he was already on them.
Yeah, he doesn't mind a few beers.
What a legend. Hey, I'll let you go back and prepare for the big game. Thanks for joining us, mate, and thanks again to Sports Performance Tracking for their sponsorship of Gameface in 2019. And if you want to get your club kitted out, make sure you get in touch with them. Thanks for your time, mate, and best of luck.
Thank you.
All right, mate. And as we mentioned off the top, we're having a look at the young guns today, Lockers, and there's some elite talent that's under the age of 21 in this competition, which is a fantastic sign for the Southern Footy and Netball League.
Oh, there is, absolutely. It's really, really solid list we've put together, Will. If you agree, I've helped out. If you don't agree, Will's done it himself. So we'll go through it and see how we go.
Alrighty, and we have an emphasis on the youth. So there's quite a few teenagers in this list that we've put a bit of focus on.
Absolutely.
And a couple of 21-year-olds we've thrown in there that have really shot the lights out as well. So kicking it off from the Port Melbourne Colts, Mitch Clark, who's been very unlucky on the injury front the last couple of years, and you could argue could probably be a little bit higher, but obviously coming back off a couple of knees, he's been outstanding this year.
He has played back, probably played the first 6 to 8 weeks back. Has moved forward recently, very good player, very clean, good overhead, really hard matchup for opposition when he's forward, and conversely when he's back because he uses the footy so well. So yeah, yep. He's had a great comeback, which is great to see.
Absolutely, and 21 years of age is Mitch, and obviously, as I mentioned, a couple of years out, which is difficult for any player, but he's come back very, very nicely.
Absolutely, yep, outstanding.
Number 9, Jakey Bowie from Hyde. I had a real good look at him on the weekend. He's only 16 years of age, would you believe? So bottom age for Sandy in the NAB League. And the 2 games he's played at Hyde this year, he proves he can play senior footy. It's not a great deal of him. He's slight. He's not overly tall. Neither is his old man, by the way.
No, absolutely not. But look, he'll get drafted. He's an underager this year. There's no doubt next year into 2020 draft, his name will come up at some stage throughout that draft. Yeah, really good player. And
maybe we can even see him following his old man Brett's footsteps and end up at St Kilda, which would be fantastic. Number 8, Jake Carosella from Oakley Districts. What can you tell us?
Yeah, played interleague earlier this year for us. Come out of TAC Cup last year and playing at Cranbourne. He's had a super consistent year. Each week he features in the best for Oakley. He's probably their leading midfielder, which for a 19-year-old is a fantastic effort. And I think Jake will be a dominant midfielder for years to come in the Southern Footy League.
Good size for a 19-year-old too in the midfield, which is great. Number 7, Remy Faulkner-Wood from Dingley. He's been a regular feature. He started off in the 19s early in the year and just kicked bags upon bags. I think he kicked 9 one week and 12 in the other. And when we had Danny Ades on the show a few weeks ago, he said that he's almost getting to the stage where he's too good for that comp. And Morph's thrown him into the senior lineup, and he's performed beautifully.
I think he played his first senior game when he was 16, so he actually has been around a while. Typical kids have got other stuff to do. He's floated in and out of footy a little bit, but his impact, especially in the last 6 to 8 weeks, has been fantastic. And come finals time, on top of the ground, fast, big tracks, he'll play a real key part for Dingley, no doubt.
He's one of the. There's a few that they've got at Dingley, and he's one of the absolute stars of that young brigade. Number 6, Finn Ryan from Cheltenham, son of Desi.
He's a star. He's played a fair bit of school footy this year for Hailbury. Almost single-handedly won the game for Chelt in the last quarter on Saturday. But he's a hard matchup. He's tall. He's athletic. Covers the ground. Super brave. He's got to work on his pipes in the gym. I'm sure that'll happen over the years. But he's a fantastic player. I'm not sure how long Southern are going to have him for in their wings. He might be
not long, I'm tipping.
He might be destined for bigger and better things. But yeah, Finn Ryan again, come finals time, will be a one to watch in the finals for sure.
His old man played AFL, so there's a fair chance he could too as well, you think?
And his uncle, so yeah, absolutely good pedigree.
Only 17, so plenty of time to work on those pipes. Number 5, Rory Goldsmith from Dingley, 19 years of age and pretty crafty forward, can have a bit of a run through the midfield. He's played a bit of interleague footy for the under-19s. He's a star in the making.
Absolutely, really good. Just one of those sausage factory guys that Dingley keep producing. A little bit in the lines of Lucas Wamsley or a Jackson Pete. He's going to be around for a long time, and he's again a little bit like his mate Remy. He's going to play a key part for Dingley come finals.
Very good. And number 4, Will Clark from St Paul's. Staggering when you look at this bloke that he's only 20. He is an absolute bona fide star. He
plays like a veteran, no doubt. Big bodied. He played a really good game on the weekend against the Tide. I think he kept Daniel Farmer to 1 goal only. So he's upholding his end of the bargain with good form. I think he's played interleague for now 2-3 years in a row. So he played Vic Metro this year. So yeah, Will definitely deserves his spot in that top 10.
And he's a regular feature in our team of the week as well. Is Big Wilbur. So he's a premiership player as well last year, an absolute star. Number 3. Now we're getting into the podiums. Cameron Blitzas from Cheltenham, 17 years of age and just outstanding in the back half of the ground every time I've had a look at him.
Yeah, he's come from a long way back. I suppose he wasn't on any TAC Cup radars early this year, but he's played the last couple of games for Sandringham Dragons. Yep. I'll get it right. But fantastic, very light framed. But he's just got some traits that show that he could potentially in years to come go to the next level. He's
smart.
He's had an unreal year for Cheltenham, no doubt. He knocks off some big players. They don't hide him and just stick him on the 5th or 6th forward. He plays on the big guns of the competition and does a great job week in, week out.
And he's really smart, which is the one thing I've picked up on. He's got some great game awareness and makes the right decisions, which you don't often associate with a 17-year-old kid who's still learning the ropes of senior footy, but he's a player that's going places. Number 2, his teammate, Sam Hayes. He has been in absolutely unreal form.
He's a very, very good player. Super underrated. Would go down as far as saying he's one of the best backmen in the comp already. Reads the play well. He's got cat-like movement. Looks like he's got arms that are a little bit longer than a normal person's arms. He's got movement that's elite, which you want to see. He might be really, really, we're saying a late bloomer. He's 21, but he is coming with an almighty rush this year. And, in my eyes, he's a real star of the competition already.
Should be on the radar of a few VFL clubs, I would have thought, at this stage.
Oh, absolutely. With his movement. And it's not about how he goes each week. It's about how he moves and reacts. He's very quick, as I said, cat-like, but he's also very good with the footy in his hand. Makes really good decisions, which when you get to those next levels, that's what they want to see. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see where Sam Hayes is in 12 months' time, whether he's still plying his trade in Southern or he's had a crack at the next level, because I think he's definitely good enough. Yeah, for sure. And, of course, the number 1 will probably surprise very few, Jimmy Ziller from St Paul's. Yep, he's been a gun kid for a long time. He's probably played 40 games of VFL footy now. Again, he's come back to St Paul's a few times this year and had real impact. I think his last game out for St Paul's, he kicked 5 against Port Colts and was probably single-handedly won the game for Port Colts. He's a ripping kid. I think he first played interleague, senior interleague as a 17-year-old. So he's just made of the right stuff, Jim. He's a great player, but B, he's a great kid as well. And yeah, deserves his spot in that top 10.
Yep. And of course, there's a few people that we couldn't squeeze in, unfortunately. There's only so many that can fit into the top 10. So we'll kick it off with some honourable mentions. I mean, Ryan Carroll from St Kilda City, and a couple of his teammates as well. Josh Cochran, who had a great game on the weekend, and Jesse Firebrace. There's some fantastic players. Yeah,
Jesse Firebrace. He's if we were doing the quickest players in the comp, I think he'd be number 1. But yeah, they're all outstanding kids as well, so they're having great years.
Unfortunately, he missed out on the weekend from playing. He was out of the side, which, you know, I love watching this kid play. He's an absolute star. A couple of Dingley boys in Josh Hicks and Nick Lloyd. Fantastic players there for the Dingoes. A couple to look forward to.
Yeah, again, it's just those young guys we spoke about earlier for Dingley now really starting to have impact. And again, those two guys will play a key role in the finals for them, no doubt.
And there's been quite a few Cheltenham blokes in this list already, but a couple that we've left out: Luke Garno, Robert Utica, and Anthony Malamus. Yeah,
all terrific players. Rob Utica probably is a little bit unlucky, but I think he's only played 4 games. He only crossed over really, really late in the season. He's had an immediate impact, fitted in really well. Luke Garno was really good again on the weekend. Played key forward a lot, actually, which was a bit of a surprise to me, but he's a very, very good player. And Anthony Malamus, I think they already nicknamed him the Bull for obvious reasons. He's as strong as an ox, and he melies his age. He looks like he's a 25-year-old veteran of Chelt, but he is a young gun, as we speak about.
Won the Sparrow Medal a couple of years ago, and certainly player of the future. Any others that we've missed out on?
Oh, look, there's probably more. There's a young guy from East Malvern, Tom Riley, that goes reasonably well. He's only a 17, 18-year-old. I think he's just turned 18. There are players throughout the competition that we know are all very good, 21 and under, but yeah, there are a few of the obvious ones, no doubt.
And I know you were pretty keen on getting our man Chris Horton-Milne in there, but unfortunately he doesn't qualify. Being in your mid to late 20s doesn't cut it, unfortunately. So bad luck to you, Hodgie.
We probably could have got him back in, but yeah, look, he may feature in something in the coming weeks. Unlucky players or players Will doesn't like, maybe. We'll see how we go.
That's a bit harsh, he's our man. But speaking of things you can get featured in, I mean, there was a topic of conversation earlier in the year when we did the top 35. He was left out of it. Don't know how, but that's not nice. Stitch me up in beauty here, but anyway, we've had a bit of a look at the top 35 that we did pre-season, and there'll be a couple of changes.
There will be. Unfortunately, we've lost a handful of players throughout injury. You look at Mikey Cook, Luke Duffy, Jack Barclay, Robbie Rusin. They're all in the top 35 and featured, but unfortunately, have spent a lot of the year out injured, so they won't feature at the end of the season in the top 35, but there's definitely some guys we missed out that we'll add them back in. Chris DeLuca comes to mind. He wasn't in at the start. We weren't 100% sure whether he was on board fully or not, but he would be an obvious one that comes into the top 35, and we will sack a couple of guys from the top 35, no doubt, who haven't lived up to their expectations this year, but that will come out in the weeks preceding this.
Absolutely. So keep an eye on that in the coming weeks. Sure to be a conversation starter. And if you agree with our top 10 young guns, let us know in the comments. Appreciate your feedback. We might even feature a couple of the interesting criticisms that we get on the show next week, which will be great.
Look forward to it.
All right, moving on. The Swifts Locker Division 1 Team of the Week. Another hot topic of conversation. We've gone through the footage. We've had a look at a few games, and why don't you kick us off from the back line?
Yeah, we've got Daniel Vaughan. Watched that game firsthand. He was outstanding. Probably took 15 marks for the game. A lot of intercept marks. Fantastic. Sam Hayes sung his praise again. He was fantastic on the weekend. And in the back pocket for height, Ari Friedman.
He was very good. Got a fair bit of the footy. It was they were ordinary height, unfortunately, but he was very, very good. Half back line, Josh Cochran. He was one of the honourable mentions that we spoke of. He was very, very good for the Saints. Will Clark We've spoken about him enough every single week. And Jaden Gregory from Dingley did an outstanding job shutting down the dangerous Matty Crimborg.
He did, yeah, on ball or back. He apparently went everywhere Crimborg went. So
followed him home, I believe.
Probably went into the weight room at half time and pumped some iron because Jaden loves the weight room just like Matty Crimborg. Centre line, talking about weight room, bloke that probably doesn't like it, Lucas Wamsley's featured here every week. Toddy Bastian back in the middle of the ground 2 weeks in a row, and Jake Wood was outstanding on the wing for Port Colts on Saturday.
And he was the one that wore the number 0 jumper.
Absolutely did.
Obviously co-captains there with Justin Taylor, and maybe they paper, scissors, rock for it. But in any case, he wore the number 0 jumper. Half forward line, Jordan Tabachman was probably close to best on ground, I thought, for the Saints. Kicked a couple of crucial goals. He is an absolute bull, either through the midfield or up forward. Mackenzie Bristow getting amongst the goals once again. Probably the best centre-half forward in the business, you would have thought. And Liam Sumner from East Malvern, they weren't overly flash, the Panthers, on the weekend, but he was the clear standout for them.
Yeah, he was very good. He might get a little rocket in the top 35. Well, I think we had him a little bit low at the start of the year, so he might be an adjusted one.
Watch this space.
Full forward line. Rory Goldsmith kicked a fantastic goal, as we said in the top of the show. Jake Mullen, apparently quite first half, might have come under the wrath of the umpire in the second quarter and had to spend 15 minutes watching, but kicked 4 goals all in the second half, so well done to Jake.
Doesn't sound like Jake Mullen.
No, and Remy Faulkner-Wood, again, did a power work in the forward line, both pressure and with ball in hand.
Very good signs there for the Dingoes, two of their young guns in the team of the week in the forward line. And the ruck's Mitch Smart from Bentley. Gets the nod this week. There's been plenty of good ruckmen in Division 1 this year, which is great.
Honourable mention to Jesse Bowe. He actually did a really, really good job on Sean McLaren and actually had the better of that duel throughout the day. And, he is an absolute man-mountain, Jesse Bowe.
He is huge.
He's a monster.
He is as big as it gets. Matty Sondergaard from Port Colts had a great game on the weekend. And Robert Utica from Cheltenham, as we spoke of earlier, he's very consistent performer in his limited games this year. Yeah,
he's been a good player second half of the year for the Cheltenham Footy Club. Interchange bench, great to see this guy in the side. Firstly, for Mordialloc, Dev Dankert. He's had a couple of outstanding weeks.
Yep, keeps his spot.
Just keeps going, keeps presenting himself. He's a different sort of player, done really well. I've got it again.
Missy
Famallo from St Kilda City. Well done to you. He's a very good player. Excitement machine. Young Sam Jackson. Again, he's been a really good player. He's fought back from a pretty badly broken jaw last year and been fantastic again. And Mitch O'Neill from Port Colts played really, really well on the weekends. He's a good player.
Well, there we have it. There's the 22 for this week. Let us know if we've got it right or not. And moving on, big round 16 coming up in Division 1 this week. And the tips brought to you, of course, by Melsafe. So we're kicking it off. Our Gameface match of the round, I think. East Malvern versus Cheltenham. A massive game in the context of the season. 1v3.
Yeah, huge game. Both sides wanting to really make sure, not just top spot, but just make sure they get that double chance. Because I don't think Cheltenham, East Malvern or Dingley, for that matter, or St Paul's want to be in that 4th spot at the end of the year. So crucial game. Saw this game first time around. Chelt were terrible in the first half, turned it around. East Malvern were terrible in the second half. So hopefully both sides come to play for 4 quarters. And I know I'm going atrociously at the tip, so I'm going to say a draw.
Well, if any game's going to be a draw, it's likely to be this one. These two sides hard to split. I'm probably going to go East Malvern purely because it's at home, but this one could really go either way. And could it be a grand final preview, perhaps?
Could
be.
The
best sides in it.
Yeah, absolutely, could be. So, yeah, look, I think Cheld, after last week's loss, will come out. They would have learned a little bit from that. And East Malvern probably had a down day last week, taking nothing away from Oakley District.
Yep.
So, 2 of them would be looking for a pretty solid week on the track and looking to bounce back. So it'll be a great game.
Make sure you catch up with that one on the Gameface app. That'll be an absolute beauty. St Paul's versus Oakley District. I think St Paul's might get this one pretty comfortably.
I don't think it'll be comfortable. I think they'll win, and they'll win because it's at home and they need to win. So in saying that, they'll win by maybe 3 to 4 goals.
I reckon they'll win by a little bit more. I think at some stage their fortunes have to turn around, and if they can get a couple of players back, they'll bounce back really, really well. They need to really sort of salvage their season. I'll say salvage, but it's not like it's a waste at this point. But they really want to sort of turn their form around. This is where it starts. Port Melbourne Colts taking on Hyatt. We spoke about Port Colts. They're now probably in the box seat. They've got a little bit of a cushy run into finals with a couple of the bottom sides. I think they'll get this one done at home.
Yeah, they'll be too good at home. Hyatt, I know, have just been ravaged by injury again, second half of the year. So it might be a tough day out at Port Melbourne. So, yeah, I think Port Melbourne will win quite comfortably.
I think they're the only ones to really do a number on Hyatt this year, but hopefully they can be a little bit competitive. They've still got some good players, but I think, as you say, their injuries have really taken a toll.
Yep.
The depth, unfortunately, isn't there. Morty Alec taking on Dingley. Interesting game, this one. We could even foreseeably see this in a couple of weeks' time in the finals at the same venue.
Absolutely, you could do. So it might be a little dress rehearsal. So always pretty low scoring, these two, when they play against each other. So it'd be interesting to see with Dingley's, I think, second half of the year, they've actually freed their scoring up through their youth and their run. So it will be interesting. Two contrasting styles. Morty Alec try and play a real combative style. We know Dingley can do that through some of their older, stronger guys. So I actually think Dingley will win this one, though. I've just got a feeling Dingley are coming good. They're the sleeping giant of the competition at the moment, and think they'll prove to be a little bit too strong for Morty.
They did this last year as well, went through a little bit of a patch mid-year where they had a bit of a lull and lost a couple of games, but now they're starting to purr at just the right time, and they did that last year all the way through to, I think, a prelim final last year. So a lot of parallels there. They're trucking along nicely at the moment. They'll get the job done here at Ben Kavanagh. And, of course, the final game, St Kilda City versus Bentley by 5 o'clock Saturday. One of these sides, I should say, can rule a line through them. They'll be out.
Yep, I think I've already ruled Bentley out. Their last 2 weeks when the season's been on the line have been unbelievably poor, to be honest, which is, in my all my journey of footy in the Southern Footy League, is actually a little bit unlike Bentley, so very disappointing. In saying that, I'll say St Kilda City easy, but I'll probably be sitting here next week getting proven wrong and Bentley win, but I can't see it happening. As
we said, I think St Kilda City have left their run a little bit late, but from what I saw last Saturday, especially in that first half, and they took the foot off the gas after that, but their best footy is as good as any in the comp. They will win this one very, very comfortably, I think, particularly at the farm. So that's it for this week. Another good show, Lockers. I think we might get a little bit of feedback on the back of this one.
Oh, we will. We actually welcome feedback, Will. Good or bad, I know there won't be much good out there never is, but bad feedback, any sort of feedback, it's all good.
100%, couldn't agree more. And another big weekend of footy coming up this weekend. What game are you going to have a look at?
I'll probably go to Morty Dingley this week, I think, just close to home. So I've seen Chelt the last couple of weeks, so yeah, I'll go see what Dingley are about on Saturday.
Be a cracking game, that one for sure. The two traditional rivals there. Well, I think I might be at East Malvern and Cheltenham, which will also be a good one. But plenty of games around the board this weekend. And make sure you download the Gameface app and you keep up to date with everything that happens. All the live scores, the stats, the ladders, the news, whatever. Everything's on there. So make sure you download that. Lockers, have a great weekend, mate.
Same to you, mate. Absolutely.
And you guys out there, you have a great weekend as well. Enjoy the footy, and we'll catch you again next week. Get your Gameface on.
Get your Gameface on.